Everyone keeps asking the same question. Do Manchester United need a new striker? But I think that's the wrong question. Because if the structure isn't right and the midfield isn't controlling the game, it doesn't matter who you put up front, or they're just going to struggle. Okay? This is Coach's View Part 3 of a 4-part series. Part 1 was about the defensive structure. 2, midfield and control. And today, my favourite. Now we're going to look at the attack. Not who we want, but what we actually need as a team. Because goals aren't about finishers. They're about the decisions, the timing, and everything that happens before the shot's taken. If you want football explained from a coaching perspective, not a fan's reaction, subscribe now, because each part of this series builds into the next. The final part, coming on Tuesday night, will be about the youth and what we potentially could have next season and ongoing for the next couple. So let's strip it back properly. Right now, United don't have a striker problem, okay? We have a decision-making problem. Because the difference between scoring 1 goal and 3 goals in a game isn't always the finish. It's the choices made about 10 seconds before it. The pass, the run, the timing, and sometimes just the support for that striker. And if those things aren't right, your striker becomes isolated, predictable, and easy to defend, no matter how good they are. And many of us have already said, if we put Haaland in this team, would he score as many goals as he scores for City? Probably not. So tonight, we're not asking who should play up front. We're asking why our attack isn't creating the right situations in the first place. A striker lives off decisions, yeah? They live by the sword, die by the sword. Not just their own, but everyone else's. So if a striker makes his run and the ball doesn't come in, whose fault is that? He's made the right run, the ball took 1 too many touches, he's offside. Is that on the striker? Or is that a delayed pass? If your winger cuts inside instead of crossing early, that's a chance gone. If your midfielder takes an extra touch instead of just playing forward, that's another chance gone. If the fullback doesn't overlap to create space, and we see that a lot, the striker gets double marked, and suddenly what looks like a quiet game for a striker is actually a team never really giving them the right moments or creating the space he needs to get that opportunity or that shot away. Top teams don't just have good finishers. They create repeatable situations, okay? Early crosses, cutbacks, runs across the defenders, and most obviously second ball opportunities. You know, if the striker gets his shot blocked, is someone else following in? That's why the same striker looks elite in one system and an average in another. And we can certainly think of quite a few, not just at Manchester United, but across the Premier League, where that has been the case. So before we talk about needing a 20-goal striker, I feel we need to ask the question, are we giving our strikers 20-goal chances in a match? And like I say, a lot of the time, we hear the same names thrown out there, and we hear the same criticisms. And yet we see the same problems. So you're always going to have one with the other, and then it has a knock-on effect. So last 2 years we had Rasmus Højlund. A lot of people said he's not good enough. He's not scoring enough goals. When the stats get put up at the end of the season, and we all know I hate stats, but when the stats come up and he's got a 25% goal conversion rate to his opportunities, and the only person above him was Haaland, sounds a bit iffy, okay? And then I look at United this season, and I see Sesko scoring goals, not necessarily from what I would call clear-cut opportunities. You know, I think of that wonder strike against, or not wonder strike, we call it a wonder finish, against West Ham, where he clips it into the top corner, the only place it could beat the goalkeeper. You know, it's an amazing strike, but that wasn't really the chance that created that. That was the finish. And that's sort of what we've become, wasn't it, for, I don't know, last 10 years, Moments FC. You know, we're winning games by the odd amazing moment, or even 2 or 3 great moments, rather than simple tap-ins, balls across the box, far post finish, headers from point blank that are anyone but from a corner, or Casemiro from a set piece. And I feel that any fan, if we're honest with ourselves, we must see the same problems. We see wingers go wide, pull the ball back, instead of putting it in, they pull back and play backwards. We see the fullbacks not get past on the overlap, and when they do, they don't get played the ball because the winger cuts inside and takes a shot. And this is where football has changed, and some people think they're wide forward, and then when you say you've got to play on the wing, they don't know what to do. The inverted, left footer on the right footer on the left, where obviously we were blessed as Man United fans. Like we can't really go anywhere without talking about Ryan Giggs and David Beckham as wingers at Manchester United. But then as the system changed, obviously we had Ronaldo. And a prime thing I think is relevant to tonight's video, and obviously everyone is of a different age. Some people watched this live, some people saw before it happened, and some just hear us whinge about it. But there was a time when Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't the greatest player on the earth, okay? There was a time when Cristiano Ronaldo was the most frustrating player to watch for any attacker. Ruud van Nistelrooy, prolific. One of the best finishers I think we ever had at the club, for someone who had all the knee problems and things like that. But it was a very well documented fallout between Ronaldo and Van Nistelrooy because he never knew when to make a run. Because Ronaldo doing 500 step overs, turning a player 3 or 4 times before the ball would even come in. Okay, so he would be offside. Sometimes you have to make 2 or 3 runs, and we sort of grown to love that kind of football. But it's a prime example. You don't need to have link-up play with every player, but you do need to have priorities in your attacking play, in your final third. And let's be fair, United struggle to break down low blocks. We struggle in the final third to create chances without a ball over the top or a ball that goes deep to be run onto. Okay? And the main reason for that is you can't stretch the play if you don't know when to make the run. Okay? So when we had Van Nistelrooy, funny enough, coaching with Rasmus Højlund, I thought Rasmus and Obi would get some vital information off of him about when to make the run. But also the midfielders, when to play the ball. Now, I watch overlap. I watch Paul Scholes, Nicky Butts, the good, the bad. But you don't need to watch the ex-footballers. You have your own eyes. Okay, guys? When you used to watch football, when Ryan Giggs would receive the ball, always on the half turn, he might beat a player, but his pass would always be forwards, not square. When Roy Keane, Nicky Butt, Paul Scholes, Michael Carrick received the ball, the pass is forward. It's into feet. It's into a pocket. Okay? But that's only if you're coming towards the ball. If Paul Scholes received it in the right area, he would clip it over the top. Same with Ryan Giggs. Same with David Beckham. Same with Ronaldo once he had a talking to. You have to know that how that player is approaching the ball means you can make your run off of it. And unfortunately, right now, our wing play dictates that we run down the left. If Luke Shaw makes an overlap, we'll get a cross from level with the inside of the 18-yard box. If Dalot actually tries to put the cross in, it's going to be overhit because the guy can't cross at all. If Mazraoui goes in, he drives it hard and low. If Ahmad gets the ball, pretty much he cuts back and plays a pass out to Bruno Fernandes, who puts the ball in. Or he tries a shot and drives into the box. Same with Cunha. Vice versa on the opposite side. Now, we know Bruno Fernandes is the greatest chance creator currently in the Premier League. You know, it's very hard he may have created more chances this season, but when you look at David Beckham, Kevin De Bruyne, Mo Salah, all of these kind of players, receiving the ball and making your run as an attacker, you have to. They say it's telepathic, okay? It's one of those phrases everyone says. But if you watch Man United, we look hesitant. We don't make our runs in behind all the time unless Bruno's on the ball. But what that makes it very easy for defence to do is every time Bruno gets the ball, we're just going to drop 5 yards because we know he's going to try and clip it over the top. We become very one-dimensional. We become very, I would say pragmatic, but I'm not sure it's really the right kind of word. It seems that the trust level in everyone else to create that chance isn't there. So therefore, we're only having it from Bruno. And that's why Sesko gets double marked. That's why Mbeumo can't run in behind because the defenders drop. That's why Ahmad has to turn because they drop and go, well, go on then, take me on your right foot and I'll try and see you out of play. I don't mind giving away the corner. Cunha, a little bit more unpredictable on the other side because he can go either way and he's just got that 5 yards where he beats everyone for pace. So Cunha can ball carry. Ahmad can ball carry, but his decision making is still a work in progress, let's say. So when I look at our attackers, as I mentioned before, I could bring Haaland in. I could bring in Dwight Yorke and Andy Cole. I could bring in Van Nistelrooy. I could bring in anyone. The greatest, in my opinion, R9. But if they don't know when they're going to get the ball, there's very little they can do with it unless they can beat the player. Okay, if they're going to get it to feet, now that defender's going to be up their backside, the arm's going to come out in their back, and I can keep them at arm's length. Go on, try and turn me. You're never going to score headed goals, no matter how big Sesko is, okay, because that ball coming in from deep, and it is deep, it's never square, it's never from a byline cut back towards him at a back post. He can't make that run because he doesn't know. So these kinds of things are what I feel is the missing link in Manchester United's play currently. We've obviously brought in Michael Carrick, who, as I said on the previous video, if you want to go back and watch that afterwards, or watch both even, on the midfield one, Carrick is the last person who just needs to keep us ticking. And it's important to keep the midfield ticking and moving that ball so they never know where it's going to come from. Whereas, if we don't know as midfielders where the ball's going to come from, Mbeumo, Sesko, Cunha, they can't make those penetrating runs. They try, and it always seems like I see the run. I'm going, just run off his shoulder, run into that space, run on the blind side. And I see the pass, and then I'm like, why has he turned and played it square to retain the ball? We're risk averse, because we know if we don't get the ball and create that chance, the chance is we're going to be counted on. And going back through our previous videos, what that leads to is a stretched game and a lack of pace from Manchester United. Okay, so what I feel that we need currently, we have Sesko. I would like to see Obi brought back in as a ball carrying striker who likes to use physical pace next season, or even for the last few games. I feel that we need another 2 strikers on top of those 2. I'm not expecting us to hang on to Xerxes. I expect for him to move on. If we do, he's still not a striker, so I don't know what we're doing there. All of you that may be looking at certain youth players, like I said, I'm going to cover that in the next video, so we're not going to talk about any of the youth coming in, with the exception of Obi, who is obviously playing in the 21/23s, whatever you want to call it. But he has been called up to the first team. That's my main point. When we talk about Manchester United's chance creation, obviously we have pace in Mbeumo, and Carrick seems to prefer that as his front option currently than Sesko with his height and the flick-ons and having the runners. Now, I don't know if that's because of just how we're structured as a team. But when the ball comes up, it's very obvious to me, if I was coaching, go, right, all I want you to do is allow him to win the flick on. The other centre-back, drop, you're going to sweep, you're going to clear it up. Full-backs, stay with your runners. They're clearly going to run into the wide areas because that's where he can flick it on. He's not going to flick it straight behind him because that's going to go through to the goalkeeper. So that's very practical on one aspect of how our striker plays. Whereas if Carrick wanted to try something different and say he put two up top, our equivalent to a York and a Cole would be Sesko and a Xerxes. I think you don't expect them to work together, but they seem to have quite a good understanding of keeping the ball. Little 1-2s between them when they have played. Whereas Mbeumo, that's not what he wants. He wants the ball into feet, in front of him, running onto it on the half turn. He never wants it with his back to goal. Whereas Cunha really doesn't care. You can play him through there. If he's back to goal, he'll probably try the outside of the foot chop where he spins off to his right. First touch left, back onto his right, so he can drive and drift in. Bit like how he scored, and he's got obviously that great chest control in the last game. When we talk about traits of a striker, and most of us are saying that Sesko probably shows all of them. Great aerial ability. He's got pace. He seems to have a lot of power. He doesn't quite have the calmness at the moment. He can still be quite erratic, and that's fine. That's why he needs, in my opinion, an older striker to learn from. So before I started this channel, on previous channels, I spoke about the benefits of bringing in a Jamie Vardy when he left Leicester to Manchester United would be for our young strikers. At that point, I was looking at Erasmus Højlund. But it's that calmness that they can bring. Because without that calmness, when you're only going to get one or two chances, it doesn't always come. And we saw that as an example in the last game played before the filming of this, where Sesko scores a great goal, but there was a secondary chance, and we don't know if it was a pass or a shot or a cross, because he just absolutely panicked, and I don't know what it was, okay? And generally, I generally don't know what it was. Because he had his foot open, did his leg lock up and he couldn't whip it, or was he trying to square it for Ahmad? So we need to bring in experience. This is where we come on to a very drastic situation that covers all three videos so far. The club's buying policy of, we only want players sort of under the age of 24 that we buy. We want growth. Without experience, and we have zero experience up front, there's only one other option we can do. We can either bring in experience, or we bring in an experienced striking coach. Michael Carrick has a very big supporter currently on TV and social media, and he just happens to be our all-time goal scorer in Wayne Rooney. Okay, we had Ruud van Nistelrooy. I thought that was an absolute mistake to give him the job interim, and then we lose him as a coach. For me, that was just totally the wrong thing. Look at him now. What's he doing? But Wayne Rooney coming in to work with these, you cannot listen to the club's all-time goal scorer. When I listen to ex-United players talk, when they talk about Sir Matt Busby, when they talk about all the ex-players being around the club, just hanging around. They don't talk about them like a bad smell, but like just little bits of advice. Just do this. Young players have a real habit of bad habit of not talking to anyone, not asking for advice, not saying, look, last week, what would you have done? And going and searching for that, because they've got this entourage behind them, and it's the worst thing for a striker. A lot of people say confidence is what you need in a striker. The most dangerous thing for a striker is overconfidence. Okay, shooting when he shouldn't shoot, trying to hit a volley when he really should be taking a touch, those kind of things. And that's where the calm, the breathing, and just taking that half a second longer sometimes to compose himself comes, and that comes from the experienced players. So as a filming this, we talk about, we're in the international break, and you've got a lot of talk about Danny Welbeck, what he would bring to the England squad alongside Harry Kane and a few other players in that experience, in that learning curve, knowing what he can do. And okay, we only need him for 10-15 minutes, but we know he'll be ready. When an overconfident young player comes in, they can take 15 minutes to half an hour to get into a game. So if you're looking to turn the tides in the last few minutes, very rarely it pays off. Some of you might turn around to me and go, hang on, we brought Cesc off the bench, he scored some winners. And he has. But then we've brought other players off the bench and they haven't. So just because he's doing it at the moment, being in the right place at the right time is a gift sometimes. And you get a tap in. And he certainly had some of them. Has he taken them? Absolutely. And this isn't a criticism of our current strikers. It's about how we can improve our current strikers by bringing in experience. How can we improve our current strikers by getting the ball whipped in behind early to make the defence think, oh shit, they can run in behind. They can have it to feet. They can have a little bit of link-up play. If I get too tight, he's going to lay it off. If I drop off, he's going to take it to feet. He's going to turn and he's going to drive at me. We don't have that unpredictability in our front line. We have 3 different kinds of unpredictable players that we rotate around that front line. Which again, if you're coaching to the level of the Premier League, you're going to say, video evidence, right, when he receives the ball, this is how he likes it. When he receives the ball, this is what he's going to do. When Cunha, for an example, receives the ball, just drop 5 yards. Why? Because if you're tight to him, he'll turn you. But if you drop 5 yards, now he's got to beat you and you can jockey him and you can dictate where he goes. If Sesko's looking for the flicks, like I said a minute ago, you can drop off and pick up the second ball. If Mbumo's looking to run in behind when he gets the ball, because that's what he wants the ball played through, we're going to drop 5 yards. Because if I see him making a run, I'm just going to call the line to drop. You've got to get that right, and you work on it that week in training. It's great. But sometimes you've got to do the complete opposite. And you've got to have a third thing. So if you're always running front post, that one time you spin and you fake to go front and you drop to the back, it's an easy header at the back post. And that combination play is what we need to start picking up on. I felt in a few games that Bruno had started not putting as many balls into the box and trying in the air. Like, his little clips over the top. But they started to sneak back in because it seemed to be our only option. It could just be in the teams we were playing against. Obviously, we've now got Chelsea and Liverpool who are definitely going to come at us compared to Leeds, Brighton, Forest, etc. out of the games we've got left. So you've got to have different ways of playing. And right now, we're very predictable. We're very one-sided as well, I would say. We don't really attack down our left. So that means every time the ball goes left, the striker's switching off almost, because he knows that it's either going to go left, cut in, Cunha drive and probably try and get a shot off, or we're going left to eventually switch it back to the right and then he's got to make his run. So again, predictability. There's a lot of things I've probably gone over in this. It's one of my favourite subjects to talk about, obviously attacking play. And there's so many drills where you can play forward, play back, switch the play on the reverse. But I would love to take everyone through and put on almost like a tutorial to explain where you go wrong when you're playing as a solo striker. and how hard it is, you are always going to be 1v2 without the runs of Bruno and Mbumo, Cunha, Kobe Mainu. All those extra 4 players sometimes have to go past you, and not to get the ball, but just to drive a player back. And then they spin back, and they come back, and the next one goes. And on that spin, when you watch the next few games, this is the kind of things you got to look out for going into the transfer window, okay? Because we talk about the midfield as a guaranteed signing, but there's still so many aspects, and support strikers, I feel, there aren't number 9s out there. It's well established, but I think you'll find next season, the 26-27 season, you'll see more teams playing 2 up top, and it could become stretching the game. Okay, a little bit more direct football. We've already seen long throws come back. We've seen more long balls come back. The next one will be, okay, can we gamble? Can we get an extra midfielder forward into the box? You know, the revitalised Frank Lampard kind of run in the box, late run, cutbacks as a clip back or driven back. Secondary striker coming in, i.e. the York and Cole, you know, the Sheringham drop off kind of number 10 rather than the playmaking number 10. If you've managed to get this far into the video, guys, I'm hoping you've hit the subscribe. If you haven't, and because of the video, please come in the comments, let me know why. Let me know if you think I'm over-explaining, under-explaining. If you want more information, we can do a follow-up video just for whichever aspect. But otherwise, give the video a thumbs up. Give me your feedback. I want to hear your feedback to improve the information I can come across. I am not trying to say, listen to what I'm saying, I can fix Manchester United. Because I can't. Nor can any one manager, any one coach. It's a team game. And what I'm trying to just get across to everyone is that in this team game, we need to start getting everyone working together. You'll see quite often you get a defence solid. You work on the midfield. And I feel that we've done that to a degree over the last 18 months. Defence is giving up less chances, shall we say. We've got an outstanding goalkeeper. Game on game, he does impress me. Our defence needs some work, but gives up less chances. Our midfield, central midfield, and wide play, there's combinations there. We've seen some beautiful football. You know, we all know the musical now. Bruno, Cunha, and Mbumo. Yeah, we all know that. We all know it. And the final piece in the jigsaw is going to be, we can't just keep winning these games by the odd goal here or there. We need to start punishing when we're up against a low block. Because otherwise, every team's just going to be a low block against us. Even the top teams. Because it's going to be the way to stop Manchester United. Thank you for everyone who's got this far. The next video will be Tuesday night, 9 p.m. If you're watching it live, where we will go through our youth. It's the final part of this 4-part series. After Tuesday, we can get back onto looking at previews and other games coming up. Okay? But watch all 4. Give me feedback. Give me your opinion. Because this channel's all about your personal opinion. Get in the comments and leave me something. Okay, guys? So I will see you for part 4, the youth, Tuesday, 9 o'clock.